Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3638 or 39. I'm not really sure. Today's date is October 12, 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:41 a.m. Sorry, p.m. Sorry, 9:41 p.m. All right. Should we jump into the question? Let's go. All right. Question is, what if AI could simulate alternate life path? Oh, that is a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is what if question. Okay, yeah. Why am I asking? What if question is always kind of like a very interesting way to kind of like give the answer. What if question are kind of like a force you to think about that reality and kind of like a create that reality regarding about how much knowledge that you have regarding about that particular question. Okay. Disclaimer, the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right or is not exactly wrong either. It's kind of like raw, it's unfiltered. It is just what is actually my thought process regarding about that particular subject, and I wanted to share that thing. Alright? So, should we proceed? Let's go. Now, regarding about the question says that what if AI could simulate alternate life path? So, what exactly is this thing? What is exactly that? Have you ever kind of like somebody imagine that what if I did this thing in my past, my life would be kind of like something very different? Have you ever think like that? Like basically, I think a lot regarding about those. Like basically, is this thing na ki in 12th standard, I get 111 marks in PCM groups. Okay, yeah. Now what exactly is this thing? PCM groups means like that physics, chemistry, and maths. Okay, yeah. This is the three subjects combined 300 marks. If you wanted to get into the engineering college, you need 135 marks above 300. Like basically, you need like a 135 marks to get into the engineering college. If you have more, you are welcome. If you have not, you are not allowed to get into the engineering college because you are not qualified enough. Now, when I was in 12th standard, my PCM group, physics, chemistry, maths combined, get 111 marks. Obviously, I cannot able to get into the engineering college. I feel like very miserable over there at that time. By the way, there is no new GR came at that time, so that people who kind of like belong to the scheduled caste community, they are can they don't really require to get into engineering college. They don't really require 135 marks to get into the engineering college. They need 120 marks to get into the engineering college. But still, I am also not qualified enough for that thing too because I still have 111 marks. So I was really fucked up. Okay, yeah. I always imagine that what if I could have instead of 111, if I could have 121 marks or maybe just 10 marks more, then probably I will went to the engineering college. But if I kind of like look at my past history, then I realize that it was really very disastrous situation for me. Let me tell you why. I didn't really get into the engineering college. Okay, yeah. So I decided to get into the engineering diploma, a polytechnic diploma. Now polytechnic diploma takes 3 years of diploma. Okay. By the way, I kind of like complete my 12th standard. So if I complete my 12th standard and get into the engineering diploma, like a polytechnic, I can get into the direct second year. Okay, yeah. So for me, for complete the engineering diploma, it will take only 2 years. Yeah, within a 2 year, I might gonna complete my engineering diploma. But for me, it took me almost like a fucking 6 year to complete engineering diploma. 5 year, probably. Wait, I have to go to the number two. I'm kind of like holding a lot of pressure right now, so I'm gonna pause here for a while. Okay. Oh boy. Now I feel Really, really good. All right. So, where was I? Okay, I was actually talking about my engineering diploma. Yeah. Okay. So, I was actually talking about the life choices. Yeah. Like basically, I was actually talking about that. Ki what if this thing is actually happened? If I went to the engineering college, then what would be? Okay. Yeah. I always think about that. Ki if I went to the engineering college, then what would be that? Like how my life would be, and this and that, and stuff and stuff and stuff like that. Okay, but it's just like that, na. Ki looking out my past history and realize that, ki if my engineering diploma took me almost like a 6 year to complete, 2 year of engineering diploma, I might gonna need almost like an entire decade to complete engineering. A decade, a 10 year. Okay, so I am that fucked up person. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that I always think about what if I kind of like did this thing in the past or did this thing in the past and stuff like that. And you also kind of like a thinking like that way too. Like regarding about you actually kind of like a question about your life choices, that what if you did this thing and that and that and that. Now this is the one concept that you have to understand. Concept, what is that concept? The concept is that we always think about that what if we kind of like did this thing in the past. What if I could do something very differently in the past? Okay. Now let's talk about kind of like assembly. This is the concept one. Now I'm gonna tell you concept number two. Now what is actually the concept number two? Let's just say that you are solving a maze. Okay, do you understand what is actually maze? Maze is a kind of like a puzzle. Okay, you have to find a path that there is only one input and one output. Okay, yeah. Entire structure is so confusing that you have to figure it out a way where it kind of like leads and things like that. Okay, that is called maze. If you don't really know, you just kind of like a search about the Google and things like that, you will find out. Okay, yeah. By the way, you actually familiar with this thing. It's not really that a foreign concept. Probably everyone know the foreign concept is the maze word. Okay, because mostly people are kind of like associate with a puzzle. Okay, whatever. So have you ever played this game? Definitely everyone play this game. It's not really that hard. Okay, now what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. You actually kind of like solve this puzzle, yeah, solve this maze from top down view. Okay, from top down, like basically in the top down you kind of like know every path where it leads. By the way, I'm really sorry regarding about this kind of like something the noises, because of that in my neighbor there is a vihar who has a kind of like some is it festival? It's not festival. It's a it's a kind of like some party, but it's not even a party. It's a people are kind of like somebody came and kind of like eat together and stuff like that. I'm not really sure what is called. Okay, so because of I'm getting a lot of confuses, not really that much, but yeah, that is okay. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that maze. Okay, so you definitely solve gonna maze. Okay, you actually solve this puzzle from top down view. In the top down view, you already know which part leads to where it is. Okay, yeah. So basically you choose a path, it went to kind of like a dead end, then you kind of like somebody do this kind of like a different path and things like that. Okay, right. Now this is the thing. Have you ever watched the movie named Harry Potter? Fourth part. I'm not really sure the name of that. Harry Potter fourth. I'm not really sure the name. Okay. In the last sequence of the Harry Potter and basically like there is a kind of like 4 students who are qualified for this challenge and things like that. And this is the last challenge that the 4 students are actually kind of like going to get this kind of like a prize. But for this prize, they have to go through that maze. Okay, which is very confusing. Now, basically, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. When you solve the maze from top-down view, you actually kind of like knows every possible way that where it leads. But when you kind of like simply understand that you are in the maze, you are that kind of like a pointer, you don't know what is actually where it is, because there is no top-down view. Okay, you are kind of like in your peripheral vision, there is a kind of like only one way leads to, and you don't know where it is. Okay, yeah. So you kind of like goes every possible way, it kind of like goes wrong and things like that. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing: when you solve the maze from top down view, it's far more easier. But when you try to play this maze from your point of perspective, like a kind of like a simply just like a Harry Potter kind of point of perspective, then it's been very confusing and very hectic too. You can't even solve the problem and things like that. Now, this is what kind of like a simply very great example to understand this stuff. Okay, you understand this concept? Okay, yeah. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key the way that you solve the maze, consider yourself as a kind of like a Harry Potter who are kind of like a solving this maze. Okay, very confusing. You don't know where it part which path leads to where it is. So it's very far more complicated to understand. Now AI is a very different game. Okay, yeah. AI is a kind of like a look from top down view, and it kind of like leads which part leads to where it is, because it knows everything. It knows which part leads to where it is. Okay, yeah. Okay, why am I kind of like a referring this thing? Okay, yeah. And is this kind of like a relevant or not? Okay, is it relevant? But let me clarify. Okay, yeah. First of all, is that why I'm kind of like a telling this example, and why this kind of like a resonate with real life. Okay, imagine yourself, you are a kind of like a silly person who are solving a maze like a Harry Potter, right? So in your peripheral vision, you just only see your front path. That's it. You don't really see what is at least side of there. You don't really see anything at all. You just kind of like see only the front path, and that is bitterly confusing. That key where is this path leads to where, because of you don't really have any kind of like a prior knowledge and things like that, right? But AI has have already prior information regarding about every possible scenario, that what does people choose which path that leads to where. Okay, so that's why I'm kind of like consider as a AI is a kind of like a some top down view, that AI could understand everything. Okay, now I'm trying to connect the dots. You will gonna definitely see this thing. When you try to solve this puzzle by yourself, you make mistake, you fuck up, you don't know what is at least this thing, and you kind of like so you always find a way to kind of like a find a kind of like assembly a way that you it leads to something really output that you can get out that maze. Okay, yeah, everyone kind of like a doing that, following that struggle and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: if we utilize artificial intelligence to enhance our kind of like a capability to kind of like understand which path should I supposed to be choose, so which is kind of like a really right way, na? Right? Well, yeah, it is very right way, but it's not a kind of like a simply exactly right way. Okay, what I'm trying to tell, what exactly is this thing? The information of AI, like basically the AI kind of like a simply runs on the information, runs on the data that AI has, right? But it's not good. Like basically, is this thing? The artificial intelligence is kind of like simply showing you such a data that kind of like a relevant to the most of the people. It will not kind of like a showing the data according to you, because still AI doesn't know you. Yeah, it kind of like a give you some sort of suggestion regarding about kind of like a somebody which field should I supposed to be choose, or which job should I supposed to do, or stuff and stuff like that. AI kind of like a give you the enhanced report regarding about every possible scenario, that which path should I supposed to choose to kind of like a be a kind of like a successful person in the life. Like AI could kind of like a show all those possible things, but uh, kind of like a somebody, it's also depends on kind of like a somebody data that you have. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: if the AI is kind of like somebody giving the advice regarding about what should you supposed to do in your life or things or that, then there is a kind of like a very different question is actually arise, that who is actually controlling your life? Is it you or is it AI? What I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that we are humans and we learn from our mistake. Yeah, if we already predict our path that this is the way that we could do, then probably what is actually fun in living? What do you mean by that? It means that na ki, okay, life is always kind of like a somebody does not goes in straight way. Okay, life is really complicated. It kind of like a shows you some of the good gesture and bad gesture too, and you learn from it. If you have a really good consequences in your life, You learn from it. If you have bad consequences, you still gonna learn from it. There is basically the meaning of the life is already exists. You kind of learn every single day from the mistake that you do or whatever it is. If we kind of simply rely on artificial intelligence regarding about what path should I supposed to choose or not choose, it kind of a predicted our like I don't know, dude. It just imagine that you have a lot of amount of money, but you don't really have a friend to celebrate, or maybe I don't know. Yeah, like, so what do you say? Should I not use AI, or should basically is this thing that kind of simply AI would kind of simply the predict my path, and it kind of shows me basically the question actually arise now fuck, I just kind of simply question kind of messed up. I'm kind of talking about something else. Okay, the question is that the AI could simulate your alternate life path. So which is kind of a really good now. Basically AI could kind of simulate all the possible life path that kind of leads to where and things like that, and I'm gonna choose such a kind of a life path that kind of leads me to a successful. I have to be choose that way, na, right? Yeah, but it's not exactly right, dude. And possibly is this thing na ki, do you recommend to people to utilize AI for kind of simply simulate their path and things like that? I don't know. At this moment, I don't really have any prior information regarding about this thing. Okay, yeah. I don't know what could AI do at the moment. Yes, AI could kind of simulate all the possible scenario regarding about what was your life and things and that, but still, it's still basically AI doesn't really work if there is no AI, there is no data. It really requires so much amount of massive amount of data, and not just data. They need a kind of a data from every individual regarding about what that particular person thinking and stuff, and that and that and that. And then after that, AI could kind of a train, and they would then artificial intelligence can kind of simply give you all the possible scenario that leads to something people to right way. But at the moment, I don't know, dude. Okay, but probably this would be gonna happen. Okay, there is might be kind of some certain artificial intelligence might gonna exist that kind of simulate the life path, and kind of simply give you kind of simply proper suggestion regarding about what should you supposed to do in your life and things like that, which is will gonna happen. Okay, it's not really that it's not gonna happen. Definitely within maybe 2-3 years, this AI would kind of somebody can do such a thing like that. Okay, so 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 do you agree do you agree in this thing or not, dude? I'm not really sure about this thing, yaar. I'm not against the AI. I knew that artificial intelligence is really essential. If you're not using it, you are left behind. So it is really essential to know and utilize the artificial intelligence. It's much important for you. Okay, yeah, one thing. Another thing is that keep, I don't know. Okay, yeah, because the kind of assembly the life that we are living, and the kind of a failure that we are facing, I just still don't know. Okay, yeah, it's just like that, na, keep. Probably at the moment, I am not a kind of a person who's kind of give you the proper and valid answer regarding about this particular stuff. Should I listen to AI or not? Yeah, as I mentioned, AI could kind of seeing the puzzle from top down view, so it kind of knows which kind of a path is kind of a right way. So yes, AI is kind of give you such a suggestion that kind of simply leads you to successful, almost like a 90% or above 90%, right? But still, it doesn't count lot of stuff like a resilience, confidence, creativity, or basically is this thing that key how much it important for us. AI is kind of showing you such a data that if you kind of choose this path, it kind of leads you successful. But still, that path is kind of something very much fragile. Let me give you example though that you might gonna understand. Okay, imagine that there is a homeless guy at the age of 27 living in the street, doing a smuggle, doing kind of like a drugs for almost like a 5 year. He is kind of like a very addict in all those possible things. Okay, yeah, that particular person is kind of like a worse in every possible scenario. Now what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: if I kind of like a simply say this thing to the AI that this is the kind of like a person who is kind of like a living homeless for almost like a 5 year, not earning money, kind of like a doing drugs and things like that, and kind of like a mention that show me a kind of like a simply way that that particular person kind of like a simply became successful, then what kind of like a simply AI would kind of like give the suggestion? AI kind of like give the suggestion that first step is that that particular person has to be stopped the drugs and things like that, right? So like basically this thing, AI was kind of like giving me a multiple kind of like a simply like a multiple step by step process that that particular person has to eliminate the drugs. He has to be kind of like a simply do this thing, do that 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 thing. Yeah, there is a lot of kind of like a instruction that what kind of like a homeless person should supposed to be do. But for homeless person point of perspective, it's a very hard. Like basically the first step is that to kind of like eliminate the drugs. Have you ever kind of like a consult with the kind of like a somebody, a person who kind of like a drug addict? That particular person is kind of like a somebody want to die if he didn't really get the drugs. He was so addict that he just not let the don't want to live. He just want to do drugs. Like basically he just living for the drugs and things like that. And basically is this thing, AI is kind of like a giving me the simple instruction that key just let him eliminate that drugs. But in reality that step is kind of like a so hard for that homeless guy that probably he might not gonna execute this first step, because as I mentioned, AI just kind of like a giving just a words and things like that. The gravity of that emotions, the gravity of that statement, the gravity of the every words is far more heavier for the people who are kind of like a facing that thing. So this is what it is now. Yeah, basically is this thing, AI just kind of like a give you just a empty words, but the gravity of that particular words, the importance and execution is so hard that possibly it's most of people can't really do that thing. Most of people can't really follow that particular stuff, or I don't know, there is a lot of things probably, right? Still it's completely messed up, by the way. I don't know. Still I didn't really have any prior information regarding about this stuff. Okay, I don't know what could AI do or what not could AI do, and what should supposed to be human understand or not, or I don't know. At the moment I don't have any information. All right, this is it. I should supposed to be end here, and thank you.